All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the March 5, 2024 meeting of the Orange Town Plan and Zoning Commission. I'm Commissioner Ozzie Parenti. We have with us tonight,
Paul Kaplan.
Kevin Cornell.
Judy Smith.
Jack Demerjen, zoning administrator.
okay, and we won't have Commissioner Tarenti with us this evening. He's got a prior engagement going on, so it's just us, and let's get started. First item on our agenda, review of the minutes from the February 20, 2024 meeting. I had just one comment. On the first page, the last paragraph that begins, Mr. Demerjen gave a brief history of this property, noting that it is in a residential zone and has been approved for a non-conforming use prior to the current zoning regulations. I would make these changes. I would take out the words "been approved for," because it was never approved by anybody.
Just,
Right, so is, and has, or is a non-conforming use, and then I would add that existed prior to the zoning not even the current zoning, prior to the zoning
existence
regulations.
of the zoning reg.
I mean,
But it's also subject to that 1941 variance you said you looked up.
Correct, yeah. The property was grandfathered in before that, but
Okay.
then the user went for that variance at a later
I mean,
time.
it's a non-conforming use by definition. I mean, it does not conform to the residential district, but it was there before the zoning regulations were enacted. so
Correct.
It makes it a non-conforming. So I would make those changes, that, I think clears that up a little bit. Other than that, I had no comments. We all set? No?
Yep.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from February 20th, 2024 meeting.
Second.
All right, we have a motion, it's been seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, good, thank you. Next item on our agenda is old business.
Just one thing for me anyhow.
Yeah.
Did you hear from Vinnie with regard to the 20-year judgment / injunction?
Yeah, he came back and said that he believes that will still be enforceable, so I do have a draft notice in front of Vinnie right now. He's gonna be reviewing it and getting back to me with any proposed changes.
Makes more sense.
Yeah,
So
I
there is
thought
no
so.
statute of limitations on a judge's decision?
Not with that type of injunction,
I didn't
yeah,
think so.
I thought so
Yeah,
too.
You mean permanent means permanent?
Permanent,
Right. Yeah,
okay.
all right. Anything else on that subject, Jack, or good enough on that for now?
I think good enough on that for now.
All right. Anything else under old business? Kevin, Judy? Okay, new business, I guess this is where we're gonna discuss the request for proposal, review. Does everybody have their copy of that with them? You know, I had a handful of minor comments, which I'll give you.
Sure.
But overall, I mean, to me, it worked 10 years ago. I don't see any reason why it won't work now.
Right, I had made the changes that we discussed last meeting, and added, what language we had talked about, even though it was fairly minimal. But I think we all kind of agreed that, it was still, pretty good for our purposes today. But more than happy to hear any changes.
All right.
Go ahead.
Well, I'll start with the first paragraph on page 1, 2 lines up from the bottom. It says, prepare a plan of, I would add the words conservation and development. That is what we're talking about, right? And then use a defined term, because throughout the rest of the document, you refer to it as the plan or the town plan. but it's all the same thing, right?
It's all-
Right.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
so we maybe just should clean that up a little bit.
You're gonna define it as the plan.
Yeah, you could say the plan or the town plan, both, because he uses it,
Use both.
yeah. All
And to
right.
prepare a town plan.
Well, after the word development, I'd put a parentheses, and then I'd say the quote, plan, unquote, or the quote, town plan, unquote.
Got it.
In the next paragraph, A, the need to re-examine the standards and requirements of the planned residential program. Should it be planned residential development district? What's the
The
planned residential program?
PRDs are our regulations that govern our
But
sort of
what's-
multiple unit dwelling.
So planned residential development, I mean, a program doesn't mean, I don't think, has a meaning.
Yeah, I think maybe it was referencing something from 10 years ago, because the sentence after says existing and future PRD development.
Yeah. But what we're talking about is the planned residential development district regulations, right?
I believe so. Again, I wasn't there 10 years ago when this was put together. Maybe planned residential program meant something back then.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't ring a bell with me, planned
Okay.
residential program.
Yeah.
I think it's probably referring to the PRD regulations.
Okay. The need to re-examine the standards and requirements of the existing and future planned residential development regulations and state statutes. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the way to fix that. You want me to just keep going and then stop me if there's, if you, on C, traffic management assessment. You have tentative areas of concern include, and then we're deleting those,
All of those areas. So I could probably get rid of that sentence?
well,
Are there other areas that we want?
That are problematic
yeah, I
since,
and would we be reconsidering, I mean, would we be taking another look at those?
I know during our discussion, we kind of identified all those as to be removed, but if we decide that we still have areas that we want to take a specific look at, we can certainly add those.
Well, it just occurs to me that, it says examination of existing levels of service and problems. If there are any service or levels of service problems or whatever, they would be in these places probably,
Well, there's also a,
and there may be others.
I don't disagree that, like, for example, the intersection of Racebrook Road, Boston Post Road, and Old Tavern, but it's already, everything's already built up there. There's not really anything that can be done in that particular,
As
right,
far-
we just put an apartment building.
As
So,
far as we know.
There's no traffic calming, we can do
unless they
now.
can do the Jetsons thing and
Well,
stuff
unless there's
flying
some
around.
good idea out there that, we're not aware of.
Right, the other thing is the middle lane, what did you call it?
Oh, the,
Suicide lane.
Suicide, yeah.
That.
Turning lane.
We may want to talk about any kind of, but that's all state.
That's state.
Right.
And I think they are gonna go to Milford.
Right, so I'm not sure there's anything
For
that
us to
I'm
do
aware
that.
of.
And this, RFP is trying to elicit from different people how they are going to attack these things. So leaving it as just a topic and open may kind of draw in, sort of, fresh eyes to the
So
scope.
keep this
so to speak.
section.
That's why what I was sort of getting at. My question is, why delete these things? I mean, I don't see the harm in,
Well, are they gonna
And
feel
leave-
that we're directing
Right.
to that specific focus or do we just leave it open?
If we leave it open, we might get some new traffic issues that have developed in the last 10 years.
all right.
I mean, it's,
And we have some developments, the Vero and next to it, things that I hadn't considered also over the next year or so, who knows what's gonna go into that. That whole area right down there is, not empty, but needs to be, maybe filled up within the next year or so, who knows?
At Christmas Tree Shop Plaza.
Yep,
How about if we said something then, tentative areas of concern include but are not necessarily limited to,
yeah,
something like that, and then we list those things. So we get a fresh look at those things and we leave the door open for,
But not
But
limited
you
to.
can get rid of Edison Road, though, because that is done.
yeah,
Right.
Edison, right.
reason-
Number
And-
5 can go.
And wouldn't the impetus 10 years ago for number 4 have been a concern about Stu Leonard's?
There was gonna be an overflow. Traffic from Oxford, an overflow. I'm sorry, flashback.
Flashbacks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's number 4?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see the harm in leaving that, though.
No, no.
That's
no
like
harm.
Lambert and all those crossroads
Right.
where
Yeah,
people
yeah,
utilize to
Lambert,
go.
Orange
Right.
Center,
So we'll stick with number 4, just get rid of number 5. And tentative areas of concern, but not limited to.
Tentative areas of concern include,
Include, but not
but are not limited to. Yeah, and then we're crossing out E, right? And that,
Yes.
I think
Yes, that's what we
think
discussed.
that makes sense. In 2A, under services, 2A, just on the second line, evaluation, I don't think needs to be capitalized. Unless it's the US Census and evaluation, that's,
So where are you looking?
under growth, the first word in the second line is evaluation. All I'm suggesting is that maybe it shouldn't be
And let-
capitalized.
Oh, there we go,
Small.
okay.
I had nothing else on that page.
Question, if they're, under B4, when they're looking at potential residential impact if open space gets developed, did the Racebrook Country Club open space ever finalize out as a completed,
Well, the town purchased it,
and it all, so that's.
and
so now
everything
that's-
stayed the same.
Right, they leased it.
Town purchased
they
it and then
purchased-
leased
they
We
did
own it
it.
that,
and leased
so
it to
that
the
all
golf
worked
course.
out.
Right.
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 I knew there was some, timing hiccup.
I think it's
but
for 10, I think it's, want to say for 10 years or something like that?
That's
40.
good.
Oh, or 40.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. I can't say I know
Okay.
the
I think
answer.
it's a 40.
So does land that's kept in open space, is that part of this potential future impact, or do you pull it out of that inventory? Just out of curiosity. Ask the consultants.
I think so.
That's what we're.
Yeah, I don't have an answer for you there.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know the answer to that question, Captain.
All right, it'll come out.
Offhand. On page 3, under E, housing. Taking into account results from above. Just made me think we were getting results from above, you know, in a religious sense, you know what I mean? I think what you mean is taking into account results from the above referenced studies, or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's probably right.
Well, this is coming under consultant services, so yes, so the
Right.
consultant's analysis or something.
Right.
Yeah, from consultant analysis.
I think he's just referring to the rest of what's in that Roman numeral 2, services, yeah. Again, on the same thing, we referred to the Planned Residential Development Program in E1. Maybe it is a thing, I don't know.
Oh, it is a thing, but
The program,
it
or
might
is
be a
it, or is
state-
it a zoning district?
it's a
or-
district. It's it's an existing one and anticipated, like we picked where PRDs could go,
Yeah, and we
But
have
I'm wondering-
PRD regulations.
and we have PRD regulations. But did Fieldstone Village come about after that? Because that's an active adult community.
Right.
So maybe we need to be specific about that, because that's another, like PRD was basically our only multiple housing product.
Is that PRD is not the active adult community, correct?
I think they're two separate.
Two separate
The
things.
housing types, so maybe everywhere we put PRD, we should throw active adult community.
Right. Where's the other PRD sections?
They're all
They're,
along the
they're all
post
along
road.
Route 1,
Right.
they're hashed out. Some are developed, some are not. But that's where they were identified, then Fieldstone came like out of the blue, was a separate thing, but I just, you know,
It's also, I mean,
we have regs for them.
Right.
So maybe
a
we should.
PRD, planned residential development, is a special use in certain zones. Like a residential
C2.
property,
Right.
you know, you can apply for a special permit under the PRD
Yeah.
regulations.
Yep. Well, we just had an application like that
A-
recently. It was in.
Yeah, it was a text amendment of our PRD.
Wasn't that
regs.
on Peck Lane or,
Right, it was a text amendment for a potential development
Yeah.
on Peck Lane.
okay.
So do we
I would
wanna,
put active adult too.
so reexamination of the planned residential development
District regulations,
PRD regulations of the PRD and active development, and
Active adult,
active
active adult
AAC.
community regulations.
AAC.
because those are the only two product types of dwellings outside of single-family homes.
And what is,
Vero Beach and, what do they fall in?
Assisted living.
Assisted living, totally separate.
It's a commercial
Yes,
use.
they were,
Okay.
yeah. And keep in mind, we also have the assisted housing district now too, that was created for the Smith Farm development. They came in and created their
Dis-
own
we should re-
district and were approved under those regulations.
Well done. Are we finished over there?
For, I think, about half the buildings are CO'd. I think the other ones are doing little punch list items,
Okay.
but pretty much, yeah.
Then do you want to include that? So now we have all our
Reexam,
housing.
reexamination of the PRD, AAC, and AHD regulations. Yes.
The next thing I had was in F, number 2, the word emanation, which is a word. But I don't think it's the word you want. I think we want the word development there. Development of viable preservation strategies to acquire open space. Right, I mean, I think that's what it was.
yeah,
what
no,
it's gonna-
emanation's not right.
And then I think the only other thing I had was, I don't know, a couple other things. In 3, F3, to be displayed, open space information to be displayed map
Yeah.
at 1 inch equals 1,000 feet. I mean, the word at is in other places when it's referred to that
Displayed
scale.
on a map scaled at,
Yeah, yeah, something like
Yeah.
that.
Actually, right English.
Just 2 more comments. In H, the first word on the 4th line, identifying, I think evaluating would make more sense there.
might just supposed to be identify.
Evaluate works better.
To evaluate.
Yeah, I mean,
To evaluate.
or assessing,
I think
with a
evaluate
view
works.
to assessing probable sufficiency. Yeah, that I think is better, but either way, evaluating, assessing, I thought it made more sense that way. And then the only other thing I would say under I, meetings, upon demand, I would say,
Just,
Get over here.
that's a little heavy-handed.
yeah.
I
You
would
don't think we
say,
need to bold that?
yeah, and
All
it's
right,
bolded,
all
I
right.
mean, it makes it all the more tough.
Just want to make sure they know
I would say upon request.
upon request, okay.
That's what I had, I don't know, I mean, anybody else have?
Yeah, and I don't know if it's appropriate under I, but I didn't see where getting public input in some of these changes was covered. In that it seems that this board with the exception of Jack, represents a very specific age demographic. Yeah, and some of the future
That's
we see
people in
for
their-
this.
People in their fifties?
Yeah, maybe there are other people younger than that exist and have opinions that we should be made aware of.
The consultant shall attend and present information at a public, to the public at all public.
Sorry about that. You don't think it's covered under one? This includes an initial public hearing to inform.
Well, it's telling them to attend it. It's not telling
Telling
them
them
to
to-
arrange it in order to gather information and opinions.
And Glenn absolutely did that.
He
He
did
had a
that.
methodology.
Maybe what we could do is we could say the consultant shall plan, attend, and present information to the public. To the public
Well,
at
you-
public hearings held on the plan.
Well,
But
I-
it's a public meeting, too.
Yeah, I mean, although, you know, as I said earlier, you know, we're trying to figure out their methodology. So
You don't wanna
perhaps letting them tell
Tell us what they're gonna do.
yeah, I mean, we're not looking to get somebody's, you know, master's thesis.
Right.
That's only their opinion of what this town should be.
Right,
Okay.
yeah.
So we'll leave that as is.
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
Other than that, I think it, like I said, I think it worked before, it'll work again. I think it just finish it up and get it.
So the
going.
methodologies goes to that website or whatever? You put it on?
Yeah, so I'm gonna be posting it on the town website, Town of Orange. I'm gonna send it to Scrog, and I think they'll post it on their website as well. And Glenn, let me
The
know
one-
that to send it to the Connecticut chapter of the American Planning Association, putting it on their website where I think a lot of these consultants are regulars at, and they'll see, and
Okay, then you'll field all the offers.
absolutely everyone,
All right.
yes. Once we, I mean, we could talk about it, I can get this up, make these changes. I don't think we have to come and reworkshop these, you guys are comfortable
No,
if I.
def- Definitely not.
Yeah, so I'll make these changes.
I mean, you're welcome to circulate it again if you'd like.
I'll send it out in an email. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's,
the
that's
final
not a,
draft.
that's not a problem. But we're early March. I think Glenn said we should plan on posting them in March and April. Field, any interest maybe until the beginning of May. And then in May, start our review process. Please, if I'm remembering this wrong,
Yeah,
somebody
I-
please
I
tell
wrote
me.
it
I think that's what he
I
said.
think as soon as you make the changes, we get it on the.
We get it on the website and.
No reason not to.
Yeah, and then maybe first or second week of May, we can say, all right, we've gotten X number of people interested. We'll interview however many we want out of that number and go from there.
And if the process proceeds more quickly, let's do it more quickly.
Yeah,
just
Sure,
because
yeah.
Get it done.
At some point in this process, we'll need more time.
Yeah,
Definitely.
if I end up with 15 responses in the first 2 weeks and we're happy with a number of those people, then I don't see a reason to keep it open for another month.
Yeah.
How many did we interview last time?
3?
Maybe.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't even remember a couple. I mean, there must have been another one in there, but not more than 3, I don't think.
Okay. So, let-
So you can, look,
yeah, I'm just throwing that number out
I
there, all
laughed
right?
at
Yeah.
you can circulate it to us, but don't,
It won't be on
Yeah,
another
yeah,
you
agenda.
haven't heard
Not-
from us in a day or two.
Go with it.
Sounds good.
Yeah, don't
These
wait.
are changes I can make by the end of this week, so I will get that out to everyone and
All right.
have
good.
that posted.
And when do we go to Board of Finance? When we have the cost?
Yeah, I think once we decide on someone and they've given us a ballpark of what
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna be, then I can go to the Board of Finance. I have already made them aware of this cost, so
Mm-hmm.
they have already sectioned off a good chunk of change for us.
Good.
So it should not be anything new for them.
Okay. Anything else? On that subject? All right.
Unless anyone has anything for me.
All right, last item on our agenda is a report of the zoning enforcement officer. Jack?
The only things I have is, I think I mentioned last week, Firelight is pretty much ready for their CO. I think they're doing a couple last-minute items for the fire marshal, but other than that, they're pretty much good to go.
Do they have, this may be outside of your bailiwick, but are they soliciting for the small commercial things downstairs as well?
I know, yeah, there's still commercial
Availability?
availability there.
Right.
Whether or not they filled those or who they're looking for specifically, I don't
Right.
know. I know there's at least 2 restaurant fit-outs there,
And refresh my memory, how many apartments are there?
72,
And they're all rentals
all rentals, yep.
Some-
1, 2, and 3 bedrooms.
and
There's
three
some
bedrooms?
3 bedrooms
Right.
there, yep.
And is it, there's an affordability component?
No affordability with Firelight.
Okay, good. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so they're going for their CO. And the only other thing I have is the self-storage facility on Salemi Lane is gearing up to go.
Okay, I meant to ask about that.
Yes.
Anything in the pipeline? Or-
Nothing to my knowledge.
Kevin knows stuff, though.
The only thing we will have next week is, we have a text amendment for next week. It's about signage, so.
Joy.
Yeah,
Where is it coming from?
it's coming from Racebrook Medical Center, across from Dutchess, where the old trailer park was.
Yeah,
They want a sign that does not currently fit in our regs, so they're asking to change those. Nothing real major.
Yeah. All right.
they would have to get that by way of an amendment to the regulations
Yeah,
as
it's
a.
not a variance,
Yeah.
because this is no hardship, it's their choice.
You can ask for a sign variance, it's kind of tough.
Yeah.
You know, so I think in consulting me, they said, why don't we just go for the reg change? Do you see any reason why, we'd get a lot of blowback? I said, no one's really asked to amend the sign reg since I've been here. But I know, I will say, they are a little dated from what I've seen. and-
You have no idea what you're in
Signage
for.
brings out people.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm glad I missed that one, so, but yeah, that's the only thing I know of that will be, as of right now, on our next agenda. So we will have one public hearing. And if anyone has anything else for me,
Have you, I don't really notice the signs as much as I probably ought to. What's the status? I mean, do you still,
I do very regular cleanups, I'd
You
say
do?
probably once every 2 weeks. I drive up and down, ask people.
load up your
Typically-
trunk?
Typically, people are pretty good about removing them when I ask. The signs that you see more in like residential areas, the like political signs, I will remove those from street corners. But other than that, it's been fairly good with signage, and people do remove them.
Are the
typically
political
when I ask.
signs allowed?
No, you don't remove those.
No, not
Yeah,
political.
no.
I was just the signs, the stick in the ground signs, like you see most
Like
of our.
if it's for a business.
Exactly.
And it's
You'll-
not on
you'll see one
private
right now on the
property.
corner
But
of-
if it's vote for,
No, if it's sign up for Amity Girls Soccer, I'm not removing that. But if you're
Good
selling,
choice.
yeah, if you're selling a business or a good, typically I will remove those after
Yeah.
a week.
'Cause they're not
I'm
on
not going after
landowners.
any of the.
What's that?
They're
Yeah.
just on public property.
Right.
Correct, yeah. I typically will not remove one from a front yard, but if I get a complaint, I'll knock on the door and just ask them to remove it. I almost always get people to remove it immediately. But ones on street corners, that's kind of no man's land right next to the road, those I remove.
if you wanted to put one in the middle of your front yard, vote for Joe Biden.
I can't do anything about that, nope. As soon as it's political, it kind of becomes a freedom of speech
Right,
kind of
you
thing.
can't touch
Yeah.
that, that's what I'm saying.
So I don't have any issues with those, but it's when you're selling a good or service.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Or buy homes for cash.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the biggest problem are those that come in like at Friday at 5 o'clock and,
Oh, I've seen people stop at the stop signs, run out of their trucks, put the sign in and get back going.
yeah.
So it is what it
Alright.
is.
Just out of curiosity, well, you don't know this, but
I will be asking you next meeting, I guess. What is the allowable sign that this medical center can put on right now?
So the issue that they have, and we'll see it next week, but the issue that they have is there's a section of our regs that say no portion of your display element of your sign can be between the heights of 3 and 10 feet. The idea is that's typically the height where cars are driving by and you can't see through a sign. This style of sign that they're going to be kind of bringing up, it's something that we have actually seen already in other places, whether or not they've just not gotten permits for that sign or you know, whatever that case may be, but it's not an uncommon or an out there sign that they're gonna be requesting. It's fairly standard, you know,
We'll
but
see when I bring it in.
it's that display element
It's got to do
portion.
with sightlines.
Yeah, the
Sightlines,
sidelines and safety.
Exactly, that, our current regs read as, you know, you can't have anything higher than 3 feet or below 10 feet in your display element. You either have to be really close to the ground to stay out of the sight, or you have to be high enough to clear, you know, sightlines.
Right, and a lot of, these days, a lot of people want a lot of wayfinding signage, like you can't figure out where the front door is.
Exactly. I get a lot of people, especially if you're in a back tenant space, you don't have frontage, you know, and we do allow for this in our regs, you know, it's Jack's Catering in back, and it's not an advertisement, but it's a directional sign to point you around the back of the corner. So we do allow for some of those, so you do see those in town. This is their full, you know, building sign that they want to put up that currently won't comply.
All right. Anything else? Yeah, I guess.
Move to adjourn?
Yeah,
Okay, sorry for the delay.
that's all right. We have a motion to adjourn. We have a second.
Second.
It's been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Good
thank you
job.
very much.
Thank you, everyone.